This week, I did something I haven't done in a very long time. I watched a new episode of The Simpsons, although in fairness, by the time this review gets up there, it'll probably be old news. No, I'm not one of those people who say The Simpsons hasn't been funny since X, or that The Simpsons jumped the shark at Y. I watched the show religiously for most of my life, but one day I just decided, I didn't need to keep up with it every Sunday like I did. Not so much of a breakup as it was more of a parting of the ways type thing. This episode, however, marked a very special occasion, the long-awaited crossover between The Simpsons and Matt Groening's other big show, Futarama, which they already did once in the comics, technically. Overall, this would make it the third time The Simpsons has crossed over with another property, the first being the Critic and the other one being the Family Guy crossover from earlier this year. FYI, I didn't end up watching that one because, current Family Guy writers and really my breakup with Family Guy, that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother video. Simpsorama finds Bender coming back in time in order to save the future from a bunch of terrible rabbit monsters that are somehow connected to the Simpson bloodline. Of course, this is really just nothing more than a framing device to have the casts of both shows meet and rub elbows, if only for a little bit. Homer and Bender, of course, hit things off right away, what with their mutual love of beer, why even Lisa was on point in this episode, saying that the two ultimately share a lot of commonalities right down to their basic design. Now, beyond simple novelty, the episode is also loaded with a ton of different references and shoutouts to the greater Simpsons canon, like ads for the Canyonero or Jedediah Springfield's famous speech being featured quite prominently. To combat the threat, all the science types join forces in order to save the future. In the end, it's actually Lisa who kind of ends up being the big hero of the piece, which is a pretty good indicator that as far as crossovers go, this one is definitely more Simpsons heavy. Heck, thinking back on it now, I don't think Fry barely said anything for the whole episode. Overall, I guess I would call this episode cute. Not the amazing, earth-shaking joining of worlds it could have been, but not a waste of time either. It's got some good chuckles thrown in there. At least one little heartbreaking callback to what is quite possibly one of Futurama's saddest episodes. And in the end, they even have a pretty good in-universe reason for how Bender gets back to his own time. Maybe it would have been better if it was longer, or maybe it would have served better as a Halloween episode. I enjoyed it just enough to give it a 7 out of 10. And if it seems like something you might be interested in, then I say give it a look too. Especially if you're like me and it's been a while since your last new episode of The Simpsons.